What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors walks onto a talk show expecting a normal interview and instead finds himself caught in the middle of an ambush? What happens when decades of calm professionalism meet a setup that seems determined to twist everything into a narrative? Today, we're breaking down the moment Denzel Washington finally had enough. And trust me, you're going to want to see how this plays out. But before we get into it, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below telling me whose side you're on after you hear this. Because people are going to be divided over what happened. The studio of The View was packed as usual. The energy in the room buzzed with excitement. Denzel Washington walked out to thunderous applause, that familiar calm smile on his face as he waved to the crowd and took his seat. The panel was already in place, ready to begin. Whoopi Goldberg sat in her usual chair, leaning back with that sharp, knowing look she always carries, like she's already a few steps ahead of everyone else. As Denzel sat down, the applause faded, and Whoopi jumped right in. "Denzel, welcome back. It's always great having you here," she said, her tone friendly but edged with something else. "Good to be here. Thank you for having me," Denzel replied, still smiling, still composed. "So let's talk about your new film," Whoopi began. Then she paused for just a moment, long enough for everyone to feel the shift, before adding, "But first, I think we need to address something that's been on a lot of people's minds. You've been pretty outspoken lately about certain political issues, and I think our audience would love to hear your thoughts on the current state of things in this country." Denzel's smile stayed, but there was a flicker in his eyes. He understood instantly that this wasn't going to be about his movie. "Well, I'm here to talk about the film," he said lightly, "but I'm happy to have a conversation." "Great," Whoopi said quickly, "because we've been discussing a lot on this show about accountability, about using your platform for good. And I know you've made some comments recently that, let's just say, raised a few eyebrows." She leaned forward, her hands clasped in front of her. "I believe in speaking truth," Denzel said simply. "Always have. If that raises eyebrows, so be it." One of the co-hosts spoke up. "But Denzel, with the platform you have, don't you think you have a responsibility to make sure what you say aligns with the values we're trying to promote? You know, unity, inclusion, progress?" Denzel took a slow breath. His expression stayed calm but firm. "I think there's a responsibility to tell the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially then. I'm not here to tell people what they want to hear. I'm here to say what I believe is right," Whoopi interjected. "But that's the thing. What you believe is right isn't always what's right for everyone. And when you talk about things like faith or traditional values, some people feel excluded. Some feel like you're dismissing their experiences." "I'm not dismissing anyone," Denzel replied evenly. "I'm sharing my perspective, my life. I grew up in a church. My faith shaped me. It gave me structure, purpose, and a moral compass. I'm not going to apologize for that, and I won't pretend it doesn't matter just because it makes some people uncomfortable." "But can't you see how that might sound preachy?" Another co-host asked. "Like you're saying your way is the only way?" "I've never said that," Denzel said, his tone sharpening just slightly. "But I'm also not going to act like values don't matter. We live in a world now where everyone's so scared of offending someone that we've stopped being honest. We've stopped having real talks." Whoopi tilted her head, that half smile on her lips. "Real conversations, Denzel? Real conversations mean listening, too. What I'm hearing sounds like someone stuck in the past, someone who doesn't want to evolve with the times." The audience murmured, some nodding in agreement, others looking uneasy. "Stuck in the past?" Denzel leaned forward slightly. "No, grounded in principles that don't change with the wind. Absolutely. That's the difference. I'm not interested in changing just for the sake of it. I'm interested in what's true, what lasts. And I think a lot of people, even if they don't say it out loud, feel the same. They're tired of noise. They're tired of being told what to think, what to feel, what to believe." "So you think we're telling people what to think?" Whoopi asked, her voice rising slightly. "We're just having discussions. We're giving people different perspectives." "Are you?" Denzel asked quietly but directly. "Or are you giving people the perspectives that fit a certain storyline? Because from where I'm sitting, it feels like if someone disagrees, they're labeled. They're shut down. The tension thickened. One of the co-hosts shifted nervously, glancing at Whoopi, who wasn't backing off. "Denzel," Whoopi said, "you're one of the most admired actors in the world. You've been loved and celebrated for decades. But that doesn't mean you're above criticism. When you say things people find problematic, you have to expect pushback." "I don't mind pushback," Denzel replied calmly. "What I mind is dishonesty. What I mind is when people twist words, take things out of context, and stir outrage where none is needed. I've been in this business long enough to know it's not about truth anymore. It's about control, about keeping people in line." The crowd was completely quiet now. Whoopi leaned back, her expression hardening. "Control? That's a strong word. We're not controlling anyone. We're trying to have honest talks about real issues that affect real people." "Then let's do that," Denzel said, his voice cutting through the stillness. "Let's talk about how Hollywood preaches tolerance but doesn't tolerate difference. How we're told to celebrate diversity, but only if that diversity thinks the same way. Let's talk about how we're raising a generation that believes being offended is the worst thing that can happen." "Denzel, that's not fair," one co-host said quickly. "We do value different opinions." "Do you?" Denzel asked, turning to her. "Because I've watched this show. I've seen what happens when someone disagrees. They get interrupted, mocked, and painted as villains. Not just politicians, ordinary people who dare to think differently." "Now you're making us sound like the thought police," Whoopi said sharply. "We push back because silence in the face of harmful speech is complicity." "Harmful speech," Denzel repeated, shaking his head. "That phrase. Anything you don't like becomes harmful. Anything that challenges the narrative is labeled dangerous. But disagreement isn't harm. Different opinions aren't violence. And calling them that, that's the real problem." The audience was frozen, caught between applause and discomfort. Another co-host spoke gently. "Denzel, I get what you're saying, but words do have consequences. Some of the values you defend have been used to hurt or exclude others. So when you talk about faith or tradition, some people hear pain." "I understand that," Denzel said softly. "But that doesn't mean we throw everything away." "Yes, religion's been misused. But it's also been used to build hospitals, feed the poor, fight for justice. My faith didn't oppress me. It lifted me up. It gave me something to live by." "But not everyone has that same experience," Whoopi countered. "And that's all we're asking you to see." "I do see it," Denzel said, his voice rising a bit. "But I won't apologize for my experience because it doesn't fit a certain narrative. Faith isn't the enemy. The problem is people who don't live by what faith teaches. And I'm not going to sit here and let anyone tell me my beliefs, the things that made me who I am, are somehow wrong." "Nobody's saying your beliefs are wrong," Whoopi said quickly. "But when you use your platform to share them, that comes with responsibility." "Then ask real questions," Denzel said, leaning forward. "Don't try to corner me. Don't try to make me walk back what I said just because it doesn't fit your view. I've been around long enough to see how this works." Another co-host, trying to calm things, asked, "Denzel, help us understand. Why does this matter so much to you?" Denzel took a slow breath. "Because I've seen what happens when people lose their foundation. When there's no moral center. I've worked with young actors who don't know who they are because they've been told truth is whatever they feel. And when everything's subjective, nothing means anything." "But the world's moved on from absolutes," Whoopi interjected. "Morality is complex now. People have values, and that's okay." "Is it?" Denzel asked. Whoopi leaned in again. "You talk about tearing down, but you don't acknowledge what's being built. We're creating a world where more people are seen and valued. That means some old ideas have to go." "Question them, yes," Denzel said. "But don't burn everything down. Fix what's broken. Don't destroy the whole house." "For some," another host said quietly, "that house was never safe." "I know about chains," Denzel said gravely. "My ancestors lived in them. But breaking chains doesn't mean breaking everything. We need direction, not destruction." "We're building equality, Denzel," Whoopi said, her voice rising. "A world where your truth isn't the only truth." "My truth?" Denzel repeated, frustration showing. See, that's the problem. Truth isn't personal. Truth just is. 2 + 2 = 4. The sun rises in the east. That's not your truth or mine. It's truth. When everyone has their own version of truth, there's no truth at all. But truth about identity is personal, Whoopi said. You can't tell someone their experience isn't real. I'm not saying that, Denzel replied. Experience is